Amanda with Brekke Tours and Travel. I just want to give some folks a few more minutes to log in just in case we got a few people that are having some issues. So if you can hang tight for just a few more minutes, we'll get started in just a little bit. All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. I hope everybody can hear me. And just to do a little housekeeping before we get started, down in the bottom left-hand corner, you will see a little box that says chat. And toward the end of the presentation, I'll open it up for any questions that you may have. So you can send those questions in that way, and we'll try to get those answered for you. I did note a lot of people had asked questions on their registration form, so I will try to get those answered as well. And Karen, are you on? Are you on now?
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay, great. All right. Well,
Yeah, so the only issue I'm having here is it wasn't letting me sign on. So I'm calling in via email or via
okay,
phone.
okay,
But I do have your current adjustments up on my laptop here. So
okay,
we
okay.
are good to
Well,
go. Just let me know when you click and I'll click with you.
okay. All right. Well,
Hi,
we
guys. How
will.
are you? Sorry for the tardiness and the technical difficulties here.
Yep, yep. So, well, we were just getting started. So basically, this presentation is just kind of give you an idea of what to expect in Norway when, if in case this is the first time that you've gone, and what to expect as well on board the Hurtigruten ship because it's a little bit different than what you may have experienced on, say, a Princess cruise or Royal Caribbean cruise. And so, Karen from Hurtigruten will be here to share information about that, and then I will tell you a little bit about the Norway portion, your land portion, before you get on your cruise ship. So before we get started, my name is Amanda, and Karen is from Hurtigruten, and we are glad that you can be on board with us today. In case you have questions that we may not answer today, or if you have something that is just just something that you think other people might have questions about, we've got two resources for you. The helpful hints, which you should have received in your sign-up packet from Brekke Tours, and also a little handbook from Hurtigruten that you'll receive in your final documents. If you haven't already received those, you should get those within the next few days. So a lot of good questions and information can be answered or found in these two pamphlets. So definitely good resources to have. So again, just talking about your travel documents, if you haven't already received your packet from our office, you can expect that to arrive within the next few days. Inside, you'll find the following information, which includes a departure letter with some basic information pertaining to your tour, a final tour itinerary, the Hurtigruten handbook, your final flight itinerary, luggage tags, a tote bag, contact information for the hotels you'll be staying at, airport information, and really any additional information that might pertain to your tour or if you have additional services. Now, some documents are more important than others. For instance, your passport. Please double check to make sure that your passport is valid for at least 3 to 6 months after your return date and that you have a copy or two of your passport. Be sure and pack your passport and a copy in your carry-on, and you may also want to leave a copy of your passport with a family member or friend back home, and that way they can send it to the U.S. Embassy in case your passport is lost or stolen while you're overseas. Now, you might want to take a few moments to ensure that the name listed on your airline ticket matches your passport name, and this includes your first, middle, and last name. You may also want to keep your airline receipt to ensure that you have your miles credited to your account. Now, the airlines are responsible for crediting your points to your account, so if your balance is incorrect, you'll definitely want to contact them directly. And finally, if you've booked any pre or post-tour services or a short excursion, please review your documents before you depart to make sure that those are correct. And if you notice any errors, please give us a call and we can check into that for you. Now, on the land portion of your tour, we allow one suitcase and one carry-on bag per person. Luggage handling at the hotels is provided for one suitcase. Thus, your luggage will be delivered and picked up at your room at the beginning and end of your stay. And we do provide 2 luggage tags per person. So if you want to put these tags on your large suitcase and carry-on, that'll help the hotel staff know where the luggage needs to go. And you may also want to actually put a label with your name, address, and phone number inside your luggage in case the tag becomes separated. And that's really important in case your luggage gets delayed or something by the airlines. Now, speaking of which, most airlines do allow one free piece of checked luggage on international flights. If you have any domestic tickets booked in conjunction with your international flight, the airlines may charge a baggage fee, thus you may want to check with your airline before departing to see if any fees apply. Now, typically, your luggage can weigh up to 50 pounds, and the dimensions cannot exceed 62 inches. Now, this is length plus width plus height. And basically, it's a standard large roller bag. And for your carry-on, typically the weight cannot exceed 22 pounds, and the dimensions should not go over 45 inches. Again, that's length plus width plus height. Because luggage restrictions do vary from airline to airline, I have listed the contact information for each of the major airlines that we use flying to Norway. So if you want to check with them directly just to make sure that you're within limits, that would be a good idea before you leave. Now, a lot of people had questions about what to pack. And so in your suitcase, you may want to pack the following. Casual clothing, that's appropriate for your cruise as well as the tours on land. Now, Norwegians do like to dress up a little bit for dinner, so if you would like to include some dress pants or slacks and a nice shirt, you may, but it's completely optional. I would suggest bringing clothing that can be layered, and because temperatures can change depending on your travel during the day, and also it's usually a little cooler on board the ship just because you're on the water. Good walking shoes are a must because you'll be walking along cobblestone streets, and if you happen to go hiking or something like that, you'll definitely want good shoes. A raincoat with a removable lining is a good choice, or you may just want to bring a rain poncho. I would suggest bringing a coat or a jacket, especially since it will be a little cooler on the ship. And you may want to bring a swimsuit if you like to enjoy any of the pools or spas at the hotel or on board the ship. And finally, I would recommend leaving your valuables at home. If it will create an emotional or financial hardship, it's best just to leave it behind. Now, if your luggage is delayed, I recommend packing a change of clothing in your carry-on bag. And if you're traveling with someone, put some of your clothes in their suitcase and vice versa in case one bag is delayed. Now, I put together this little handy-dandy collage here of things that you might want to wear. And for men, you can check out this Travel Tips by Ken, and he had some good suggestions on what men should bring. Some other items that you may want to pack include an extra memory card and batteries for your camera. Definitely want to bring a camera. Don't leave that at home. Snacks and a refillable water bottle. The water in Norway is perfectly safe to drink from the tap. Washcloths. Washcloths are hard to find in Norway, so if it's something that you like to use to wash your face with or something at the end of the day, you may want to bring some of your own. Tissues, a sewing kit or safety pins, medications, and this includes prescription and over-the-counter, Band-aids and a first aid kit is also handy to have. Converter or adapter, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail in just a minute. Sunscreen and sunglasses, extra eyeglasses or a repair kit, or if you wear contacts, extra contacts and solution. Maps and travel information. There are laundry services on board the ship, so if you want to do a little bit of laundry and save yourself some room in your suitcase, you might want to bring some laundry detergent or like the little Tide Pods or whatever. Inflatable pillow and eye mask for your flight over. Again, an umbrella or a poncho. Journal to record your favorite memories of the day. Small day pack for sweaters, your camera, snacks, and water. And then plastic bags. Those are really nice. If you happen to go swimming and your swimsuit's not quite dry, you can throw that in there and pack it in your suitcase. Now, the climate in Norway is very similar to that of the northeastern U.S., though rarely as hot as in the summer or as cold in the winter. Average daytime temperatures for June, July, and August usually range from the mid-40s to the mid-60s, depending upon the area of Norway. It's definitely a good idea to check the weather forecast before you depart, but just to kind of give you an idea of what to expect there. Now, converters and adapters. These are a little confusing, so I wanted to explain that in a little bit more detail. So basically, the world runs on two types of electricity, 110 or 125 volts, and then 220 to 240 volts. Now, North America runs on 110, 125 volt electricity, while the rest of the world runs on 220, 240. Now, the label on your device will help determine if a voltage converter, which is this big honking thing right here, is needed. Now, the label may be affixed to the back of the device, on the AC transformer box of this power supply lead, or molded into the plastic on the plug. It's often really small, and sometimes you really have to search for it. So if your device says that it's 110, 125, or 220, 240, so it's dual voltage, you really only need just an adapter, which basically just changes the plug. So that's small, it's easy. They're usually about $3 to $5. You can throw them in your suitcase and you're great to go. Now, if you have, I know like a lot of hair straighteners, curling irons, that sort of thing, some of them may not be dual voltage, so you will need a converter. And so basically that changes the voltage of the electricity. Now on board the ship, everything is 220, 240, if I'm remembering correctly, Karen. That sound right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So you'll need a converter if your item is it only works here in the U.S. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, usually the adapters are the letter B as in Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
The black ones that you see right there, those are the ones that you're really going to utilize.
Right, right. There's a lot of items nowadays are dual voltage. It's just sometimes you really have to look just to tell what they have on the box. So now on to currency. Norway uses the kroner, which is different than the Danish and Swedish kroner. So if you've been to Norway, if you've been to Denmark or Sweden before, and you were thinking that you were going to use your kroner in Norway, you're going to have to get that exchanged. So the easiest place to exchange your U.S. money is at your arrival airport, which is in Bergen. You can also exchange money at banks and at some post offices. Your tour director, when you guys meet up, can assist with locating an exchange desk or an ATM. You'll also find that major credit cards such as Visa, MasterCard, and in some stores, American Express, are honored. And at hotels, stores, and on board the ship, you shouldn't have a problem using your credit cards. One thing you will want to be sure of is that your credit card has the little microchip in there. Most European merchants only accept those with the chip, and they don't use the magnetic strip like we do here sometimes still in the U.S. Now, one thing to be very sure that you do before you leave is to contact your credit card company or bank before you depart, and just to let them know that you will be traveling outside the United States. Give them the dates of your travel. Therefore, they won't put a fraud hold on your card, and you won't be stranded overseas with no access to your bank account back here in the U.S. So So something to do, definitely remember to do before you leave. Something that you also might want to do is to make a photocopy of the front and the back sides of your card and leave them behind with someone at home who can assist in case your cards are misplaced, lost, or stolen. So ATMs are readily available in the larger cities, and we usually don't recommend taking traveler's checks just because they're not as widely accepted nowadays. So if you're planning to fly out of Minneapolis, you may be interested in our Park and Fly special that we have in conjunction with the Holiday Inn in Bloomington, which is near the South Airport entrance. The rates start at $119 per king or two queen bedroom room, and it also includes 10 days of free parking. So you'll also receive a shuttle to the airport, and you could take the shuttle to the Mall of America if you have a little time to kill. So if this is something that might be of interest, just please contact our office and we can get the reservation set up for you. Now, speaking of flights, there are two terminals at the Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport. Terminal 1 is Lindbergh, so if you're coming in on a domestic flight, you will arrive into Terminal 1. Now, Terminal 2, Humphrey, is where you will fly out of on Iceland Air. So if you need to transfer between the two terminals, there is free transportation between the two terminal buildings. Now, all Iceland Air flights will route through the Keflavik Airport in Iceland. You'll arrive and basically you'll just need to go through a passport control. So you'll show your passport in Iceland, but you won't have to collect your luggage as long as it's checked through the final destination. So make sure when you check in at your airport that it's checked all the way through to Bergen, because that's where you're going to end up and that's where you want your luggage to end up as well. So again, you'll change place in Iceland, and then you'll continue on, pick up your luggage in Bergen. So now meals are for purchased on Iceland Air unless you're flying in economy comfort or Saga. So if you don't want to purchase meals on board the plane, you can actually bring something on if you want to. Now, for those of you that had requested window or aisle seats on your application, we do send those requests over to Iceland Air or to the other airlines, but we can't guarantee that the airlines won't change or cancel the seats after the request has been made. So if we are not able to assign the seats at the time of booking, you'll be assigned a seat when checking in on the flight. So you will have a seat on the plane. It just you may not know what it is ahead of time until you check in. So if you do need wheelchair assistance or an electric cart for transfers for connecting flights, we can request that, but it's something that you might want to double check on when you actually check into the airport, that they will have that arranged, because sometimes they forget. So one of the worst things about flying is jet lag, especially on a long flight. So to help avoid jet lag, you might try some of these things. You try to sleep on board if you can. If you're like me, though, and you have trouble sleeping, you might want to try over-the-counter sleep aids. You might also want to bring an eye mask, earplugs, a blanket, and a pillow if that helps you sleep. Bring a toothbrush and anything else which isn't a liquid or gel that you might need to help freshen up before you get off the plane. Wear loose-fitting clothing and wear comfortable shoes, and most importantly, try not to take them off as feet occasionally do swell during long flights. Now, when possible, walk up and down the aisle to stretch your limbs and get your blood circulating. Drink plenty of water on the plane and avoid alcohol, caffeine, and carbonated drinks. I would avoid wearing contact lenses in flight because the cabin air tends to dry them out and it'll feel like you have gum in your eye whenever you wake up. And if you do tend to get airsick, drink a small bottle of ginger ale before boarding and pack a newspaper in your carry-on bag. Now, the ginger ale will help calm your stomach, and so will the smell of newspaper. Once you land in Norway, spend a lot of time out in the sunlight. This helps your body reset its natural time clock to coincide with your new surroundings. So where should you meet your guide? Airport transfers in Norway are included for passengers arriving and departing on our designated group flight. So once you get off the plane and collect your luggage, you'll proceed through passport control. You'll see two exits, green if you have nothing to declare and red if you have something to declare. You'll choose the appropriate exit and then leave the customs area. You'll arrive in the arrival hall, and this is where you'll meet your tour director. And often they'll be standing there holding a sign. Now, most of you know Chris Grodahl will be helping guide this group during the time in Norway. This is Brekke here. So I didn't have a picture of Chris, but so don't look for somebody that looks like this, but she will be holding a sign, and we'll meet you guys there, although she is flying on the same flight, so you can all transfer together. So if you are arriving early or if you're on a different flight, you can join the group transfers if the arrival time is similar. If not, just in your helpful hints booklet, there's several different options how to transfer from the airport to the hotel in Bergen. There's a bus, and then of course there's a taxi. So there's some options there for you. And you can just meet your group at the hotel for dinner, and the time is listed for dinner in your departure letter, which you will have received, or if you haven't received it, you will receive in your travel documents packet. So speaking of your hotel rooms, once you get in there, you might notice that the rooms in Norway and Scandinavia are a little bit smaller than what we're used to here in the U.S. All the hotels that we will be staying at on this tour will have a private bathroom with a shower, tub, a toilet, and a sink. So no worries about having to share bathrooms. Now, if you get in your room and think there's a fuse blown when the lights and the TV don't turn on, you just need to look for a little box. Usually it's stationed by the door, and that's where you will put your key card in. So this is a good way to control electricity, but for some people it's a little confusing because we don't often use that here in the US. Now, nearly all hotels offer internet access in their lobbies at a computer station, as well as wireless connections in the room. And if you do decide to go setting off on your own, grab a business card or a map from the front desk. This will help you in case you get lost. You can use the business card to ask for directions using the map in order to get back to your hotel. Now, most of the time, you'll find a hair dryer, clothes iron, or pants press, along with shower gel and shampoo in your room. However, if it's something that's missing, you can call down to the front desk, and they'll usually bring that right up to you. Some other handy tips that we have just kind of thrown together. Step over the thresholds at hotels. A lot of times they're raised, and so I can't tell you how many times I've stubbed my toe in Norway. If you're out at a restaurant and notice that your waiter or waitress just keeps coming to check on you but never brings you the bill, all you have to do is just ask for your bill and they'll bring it right over. Speaking of eating out, tipping in Norway is not as typical, as many restaurants will include a service charge in your bill. So you can leave a few kroner if you want, say round up to the next 5 or 10, but you don't have to leave the 20% tip like you would here in the U.S.
And Amanda, this goes to speak to on board as well.
Okay.
The Norwegians do not expect tipping, but if you feel an obligation to do so, then please feel free to do so. It's up to you, but no, it's not mandatory.
Right. And a lot of Norwegians, they just really don't expect it. So it's more of a thank you for going above and beyond kind of thing. So another handy tip, one that I have personal experience with, is to pack your shampoo and other liquids in a plastic bag, a Ziploc bag. You don't want to arrive and notice that your shampoo has exploded all over your clothes. Another thing is, again, if you want to do a little bit of hand washing or to remove just a spot or something that you happen to get on your shirt, you might want to bring a little bit of soap. I cannot stress enough to call your bank or credit card company before you leave the U.S. Pack a couple of days before you're leaving. This will give you a chance to catch anything that you might miss before you actually leave home. And finally, if you are like me and like to eat, snacks throughout the day, you might want to bring a bag with some granola bars or trail mix, something like that. And then you can use this space to bring home the items that you've purchased along the way. So now I'm going to turn it over to Karen, and she's going to tell you all about life on board the Kong Harald. So Karen, if you want to just talk, and I'll try to coordinate the slides.
Keep up, yeah. I'll let you know when to slide. Yeah, I'll let you know when to move on.
Okay.
So thank you for everyone for joining us, and Amanda for hosting this. webinar as well. We can't wait to have you all on board. It's going to be, the first time I experienced it when I started working for Hurtigruten, I goosebumps every single day. I couldn't get out of my cabin fast enough, and typically I'm like one to sit and relax, but this is such a beautiful, beautiful cruise that will bring you back all. If you're not already storytellers, you will become storytellers. You'll take lots of pictures, but I always say you're going to come back a storyteller. So Hurtigruten, our heritage, this picture here, Amanda, if you want to go ahead and click onto the next one. This is Roald Amundsen. Exploring is in our DNA. So I tell people too often that I'm your fjord dealer because of all the fjords along the coast of Norway. It's 1,100 miles of beautiful, pristine waterfalls and fjords. And it just makes sense for us to, since we date back to 1893 with Roald Amundsen, to keep our explorer experience and complete immersion into the destination alive and brand recognition. So our coastal product allows guests to experience the spectacular beauty of Norway in a unique setting. And then the cruises and the food and the excursions. So Amanda, not sure if you have guests on this call or not that have cruised before or have been on a Hurtigruten vessel, but we are the world's most beautiful sea cruise voyage. We sail along the coast, and we have been since 1893, noting the 2,500 nautical miles of varied landscape. And the varied landscaping is definitely, you'll look out on one side of the ship and it'll be different on the other side. And so and there's no, like on our upper decks, which I've got pictures of, you have free reign to explore the upper decks. We have all of our transportation, landing crafts, and life boats all tucked either inside the ship or on the side. So you have free areas where you're able to walk around up on the upper deck with no obstruction. So you're able to see everything, no matter what side of the ship your cabin is on. It's still the same because we cruise really close to the coast of Norway. So it's the ships are not going that fast as well. They're doing about 12, 13 knots. Fourth generation captains on our ships. Now the food and beverage, we do support the local farmers along the coast of Norway. It's called Norway's Coastal Kitchen for a reason. So everything on your breakfast, lunch, and dinner plate is fresh and brought on that same day. Excursions, if you have pre-booked excursions, those have definitely been confirmed, but there are some excursions that you can sign up for that are available on board. So check with the shore excursion manager if you're interested in those. You also have a daily activity talk with the shore excursion manager if you do choose to attend. I find that these are very helpful because they're usually helpful hints on what to see, where to go. If you're on an organized shore excursion, then of course you don't have to worry about that. But if you're out walking on your own, then I advise going to these lectures. Plus, they give you a little bit more history on that particular city. It's always good to have that opportunity to sit and talk to the shore excursion manager. So a typical day on the Norwegian coast, a cruise experience like no other. And so here it is. We've got the 7 o'clock in the morning. That's when the dining room opens. So you've got your bottom left corner there, the breakfast in the Arctic. Enjoy wonderful Arctic scenery. The dining rooms all have floor-to-ceiling windows, so we don't want you missing anything, even when you're sitting down for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Then a little bit to the lectures. This is where the hotel manager will come on and talk a little bit about the history of Hurtigruten, what we mean to the Norwegians, and then those usually last about an hour and 15 minutes, depending on how many questions are posed to the lecturer at the time. So then the Norwegian Coastal Kitchen, it's time for food. So everything you can even see down to the breads and the ice cream and the dairy, everything is made on board the ship. So that's how fresh everything is. Norway's Coastal Kitchen is also, the waters, as you would know, would dictate a lot of fish. So expect to see a lot of fish on the menu, but if you're not a big fish lover or don't want fish every night, just talk to the waitress or waiter, and they'll be able to accommodate even down to dietary needs, gluten-free, diet diabetics, so on and so forth. Just we're very flexible when it comes to that, but know to expect a lot of fish. And then, of course, down to the dog sledding, but may not be up on everybody's activity list. But note that is available September. You just never know with the climate. But again, that's something you want to talk to the shore excursion manager once you get on board. Silent whale exploring, that's another part of the shore excursions, the rib safaris. I'd be happy to talk with Amanda if you guys are interested in that. If you haven't already discussed your shore excursions, I'd be happy to supply a lot more information regarding that. And then, of course, it's more mealtime. What is an opportunity here, too, for you is if you did not want to eat in the dining room, there are opportunities for you to have breakfast, lunch, or dinner in your cabin. But because of the scenery is so beautiful, I don't think that you're going to be spending a lot of time in your cabin. So, and then, of course, the Northern Lights. The Northern Lights are out from September to March. So in your cabin, you'll also find a phone where you can press, I think it's F4, and this will allow for communication from the bridge, the captain, the hotel manager, shore excursion manager, to announce when the lights are out. So if you're sound asleep and the lights are on at 1 o'clock in the morning, you want to have that intercom on so you'll be able to hear the announcements that the lights are out. The captain then will slow down ship a little bit and give everybody an opportunity to really, truly enjoy the Northern Lights. Okay, so I just talked a little bit about that, Norway's Coastal Kitchen, so we really don't need to go into that. But I do want to say, if you have seen on PBS, it's called Scandinavian Cooking, and it's hosted by Andreas Sirstad, which is our corporate chef, so he plans all our menus as well. But yeah, if it's something that you have time to see before you depart for the ship, it's a very entertaining host. Andres, sometimes he's down in the tundra in Norway, and sometimes he's on our ships doing cooking demonstrations. So the next one, top chefs. We have the very top chefs that are all, you'll find that everybody on board is mostly 99% anyways, Norwegian. Everybody speaks English, so no language barriers there. The crew, there are a little bit of Swedes in there, but know that it's mostly Norwegians. So you're traveling with worldwide passengers, so it's not just Americans on board. You're going to be traveling with people from China, from Germany, from Italy, and so on. So you're going to have multiple announcements on board. So the first one will be in Norwegian, of course, and then the second announcements will always be in English. On to the next, cuisine. I put a lot of information in here regarding the cuisine because you all are in for a very, very wonderful treat when it comes to everything so fresh. You're going to be a little spoiled if you're, especially down to the breads and the crackers and the ice creams and things that if you have a sweet tooth, but including the dairy that we have on board. The fish, I talked a little bit about that. There's a lot of fish, so expect to see that. But this is just a sampling of what the menu looks like. We do have alternative dining areas, so if you didn't want to eat in the dining room every night, there is options to make reservations at the alternative dining areas. And the desserts, I just put this here so you can see the elegance on the plate. We take great pride in our delivery, not just from start to finish, but delivering it to you because, as you know, we eat with our eyes. And once you take your first bite of our whatever you're being served for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you'll be able to see that there is a big difference between the Norwegian cuisine versus American as far as preservatives and things like that. So next slide. So here is Andre Verstad. He is our corporate chef. So I just wanted to put a picture in there for you. So new Scandinavian cooking, like I said, if you can have an opportunity to find this on your television, it's quite entertaining, and you never know if he's going to be on our ship or not, depending on the episode. And the staterooms. So this is our standard outside, very comfortable room and bedding. It's all European bedding. In some of these categories in cabins, the beds do not pull together. They're either, like in this picture, an L-shaped, or they're side by side. Very comfortable. There is room service as well. As far as your cabin steward, they come, of course, when you're not there and make up your bed just like a standard if you've been on a regular cruise. That would be us as well. The switches, as you can see on the wall there by the bathroom door, of course, one is for the lighting, and the other one is for the heated floors. So if you want heated floors when you come back from your shore excursions and you're getting prepared to go in for dining, it's always a nice little touch to warm your toes. And then, of course, the expedition suites. These are on the Kong Herald. This is one of the ships that did get refurbished. So if you're on decks 5 or 6, this is what your expedition suites would look like. And then the next slide with Arctic Superior. Again, this is only on decks 5 and 6. The cabin that I showed you in the very beginning with the L-shaped beds, those are pretty standard. Now the Arctic Superior is an upgrade through deck 5 and 6. I'm not sure what you all have booked, but I wanted to give you a picture of what the staterooms look like. And a little bit about the coast of Norway. So here's the map starting in Bergen going up to Kirkenes along the 1,100 miles of beautiful, pristine fjords. So we start in Bergen and take it up to Kirkenes, which is 7 miles from the Russian border. If we have Norwegians on this call here, I know I'm going to be mispronouncing some of these, but Kirkenes is actually pronounced Kirkenes. So Bergen, if you're starting here in Bergen and you're going up to Kirkenes, we stop at 34 ports of call. So when you're on a 7-day, there's some ports that we're pulling into at 2 o'clock in the morning, and sometimes some of these ports we're only in for half an hour. So you're going to miss some of these in the one-way direction, but we do stop at 34 ports. So if you were to, in the future, do this as a round trip, you actually get to see 62 ports of call. It's like 2 brand new itineraries going northbound and southbound. So something to think about for the future. And our activities on board. So definite guests do appreciate the nature observers. And the next slide, culture and history seekers. And a little bit about the guests on board. You'll see that this one happens to be with the passengers walking in the water there. Amanda, that's the slide I'm on with the ship in the background. Most of these, if not all, of these ports we actually pull into town, so you're not having to tender. You can walk right off the gangway right into town and onto your tour bus, whatever, if you've decided to take a shore excursion at that particular area. But what you'll find too with the shore excursions, let me just touch on this a little bit, is the ship is only in for, say, an hour, and your shore excursion lasts 2 hours. You're thinking, well, how can I be out doing a shore excursion that lasts 2 hours when the ship's only in for an hour? The ship is going to continue because the ships are on a schedule. We have to pull in and out of these ports at a certain time because we are also a major form of transportation for the local Norwegians. So when you're done with your tour, with your shore excursion, you're taken right back to that same ship, but it's going to be docked in a different port of call. So no worries there with getting back to the ship. So that's what I have now. So if Amanda, you want to take and offer a couple question and answer, I'll
All right.
bring this up to you.
I know my when I was on the Hurtigruten a few years ago, my brother was so worried that we were going to get left behind on the ship. And we did a shore excursion, and
Yeah.
he sees the ship pulling away, and he's like, "No!" I said, "Don't worry about it. We'll catch it in the next port."
Yeah.
So,
So no worries there.
that is what happened. So now we'll do a few questions. Some of the questions that you had asked that were submitted actually on the registration form. So I just want to cover those first, and then I'll open it up to questions that you can submit via the little chat box down in the bottom left-hand corner. So one of the first questions, of course, how much money should I bring? And this is one of the hardest questions to answer because it depends really on a number of factors. The length of your stay, which you guys are going to be in Norway for quite some time. The extent of your travels, you'll be going pretty much all up the coast of Norway and back down. And last but not least, your shopping and sightseeing plans. So while you're on board the ship, you will have all of your meals included. So that's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And while on land, you'll have most of your breakfast. You'll have breakfast each morning at the hotels, and then 2 dinners included. So For the days that you have lunch and dinner on your own, you can expect to spend $5 to $15 for a lunch and 35 to 50 for a dinner, depending on where you eat. So other expenses are usually of a personal nature, such as laundry, drinks at dinner, taxis, gratuity for your drivers, your tour guides, things like that. Um, so really it just kind of depends. So if you kind of make up a budget of, I'm going to spend $50 for dinner one night, maybe $35 for dinner the next night, and some lunches, you kind of get an idea of how much you need to bring with you. So should I exchange money before leaving the U.S.? Again, this is a little bit difficult to answer because some banks, especially like in the town that I live, they probably have never even heard of Norwegian kroner. So if you have a bank or if you live near a larger city that has Norwegian kroner or can acquire it, it's probably not a bad idea to go ahead and get some. You just might want to check and make sure that there aren't any fees, and that ask what the rate of exchange is to make sure that you're getting a good rate. Now, should I bring a
There's
cap
also opportunities at the airport.
Yes, that's true. Yep. So you will have, I know in Bergen, as soon as you land, there's ATMs there, there's an exchange desk there and things like that. So, but Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the time you use credit cards on board for pretty much everything.
Absolutely. Yep, that's very true.
Okay. So really, I mean, if you have a credit card, you
It's
should
done
just
through their cruise card.
Right. So, so basically, you'll use your cruise card slash credit card for anything that you purchase on board. So it's really just the land, portions that you'll need some money for. So. Now cap and mittens. Personally, I prefer the chance to be warmer rather than colder. So, and especially since you guys will be on a ship for 12 days, you might want to go ahead and bring some cooler weather clothes, such as a cap, gloves, that sort of thing, scarf, jacket, or a coat. So. Um, and then if you're planning to travel with a CPAP machine, it's considered a passenger medical device on the plane. So such as a wheelchair, it's not going to be counted as your carry-on allowance. So, but if you are planning to use one when you're on the plane, we have to send information to the airlines with the make and model number in order to get authorization to carry it on board. So if this is something that you're planning to do, please email us and let us know as soon as possible because we have to have that entered into the airline's records no later than 72 hours prior to departure. So if you want to send us an email at tours@brekkedoors.com, we can send that over to the airlines. Now, Karen, do you know of any restrictions that you guys have on bringing a CPAP machine on board the ship?
No, as long as we have notified the ship that that they're aware that the passengers are bringing on, then yes. So you'd want to send me, if there are passengers from this group, then you'd want to send me that so I can alert the ship.
Okay, all right. So we'll do twofold. So if you can email us, we'll let everybody else know.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
all right, and so now I'm going to open it up. I'll put there's our contact information, but if we do have any questions, again, you can submit those in the bottom left-hand corner, and we can answer those now. Karen, while I do have you on here, somebody did send a question in a little bit later that I didn't get added to the presentation about bringing a Diet Coke or something like that on board the ship. Is that allowed or not so much?
Yes, you can. And the only restrictions that we have would be alcohol. So if you purchase anything as far as alcohol, it will be taken from you and kept until the end of the voyage. What else? As far as Diet Cokes and sodas and things like that, we don't really frown upon. It's a pretty relaxed policy on that. It's only when it comes down to wine and alcohol products that you're purchasing, of course, because we want you spending the money on board the ship. But we have also a huge variety of different types of cocktails and wines on board that we have already brought on to satisfy the tastes and needs for the guests that we have. So, and not much more expensive either. But as you would know, Norway is a very expensive country, so be prepared to pay a little bit more than what you would expect.
Yes, that is correct. So, and that is true. There's not much. It is expensive in Norway, so just be prepared for that.
Yep. So you're not
It looks
sticker
like,
shock.
yeah. We did have a question about laundry on board the ships. If I remember
hmm
correctly, there's a laundry room with washers and dryers. And can you tell, I mean, how does one pay for those? Because I'm sure you don't take quarters like you do here in the U.S. So,
Right. So they would give you, you check in at the reception area, and they would give you, and some of the ships are different. I'm not too sure with the Kong Herald, but typically you would just touch base with the purser's office, the short or the where you check in once you board, and they will give you the coins and or a card to insert, and then that is applied to your shipboard account as a spend.
okay. Yep, I remember doing laundry. I turned some of my brother's shirts blue. So, because we were just doing
Oh
the
no.
Heinz, we were just doing the Heinz 57 load and stuff, but it was all right.
Yeah, it's very
But
easy.
yep. So, well, it doesn't look like we have too many questions other than the deal about the laundry, and
hmm
I mean,
Well, if you do
hopefully,
get any other questions, feel free to reach out to me.
okay.
And if I don't know the answer, I'll definitely get it to you. But I welcome you all on board. You're in for a wonderful, wonderful voyage. And I look forward to hearing from you all upon your return.
All right. Well, thank you, Karen, for joining us, and thank you, everybody, for joining us this afternoon. So I did make a recording of this presentation, and I'll be sending it out to everyone that registered here in just a little while, so you can review it later at your convenience. And like Karen said, if you do have any other questions or think of something later on that we didn't answer, please give us a call, email us. We'll be glad to help. And if we don't know the answer, well, I know how to get a hold of Karen. So.
Yep, exactly.
All
All
right.
right, Amanda, thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate you.
Karen, and
All
thank
right.
you, everybody, for
Take
joining.
care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.